Now, in this video, we will going to discuss about the supply chain management role in economy and organization. So what is supply chain management? The supply chain encompasses all activities involved in the transformation of goods from the raw material stage to the final stage when the goods and services reach the end customer. It involves in planning, design, and control of flow of material, information and finance along the supply chain to deliver superior value to the end customer in an effective and efficient manner. So what does it mean? So the first thing is, if I want to say, for example, if you want to have a automobile vehicle, if I want to take up the four-wheeler automobile car, if you are talking about, wherein we will going to follow the material flow from the raw material stage to the final stage. So how it will going to happen? So we will going to have the multiple vendors, wherein they will going to give all the materials to the main company. In the company, they will going to do the assembly, and then it comes to the dealers, and then it comes to the sub dealer, and then it goes to the customers. So but when it goes from the vendor, so we need to have a planning. So what is that planning? How much time it will going to deliver, how much time it will going to take to deliver the material to the plant. Before that, we should have the design of those components, then how to manufacture that, all those things which will going to be involved in the design. Once we complete the design, and then go for the manufacturing of those parts, and then from there it comes to the flow of material. So from there, that is from the vendor, the planning and design and the manufacturing is going to take place in the vendor's place. Then it comes to the control of flow of material, so that comes to the plant. Then in the between these two, the information will going to flow along from the vendor to the plant. Both will going to take place simultaneously depending upon the requirement, and also the finance, what it is required, how much amount of money is involved in the manufacturing of all these things. And then when it comes to the plant, and from there, once the assembly is completed and it is ready for the dispatch, so then it goes to the main dealers of the company. So from there, it goes to the sub dealers or to the marketing, and from there it goes to the customer. See, this is a chain which will going to take place. And I am talking about the automobile industry. That is basically because the main supply chain involved is today is on the automobile industry. So they have been applied a lot of, because the automobile company has got a huge amount of manufacturing involvement. The cost is too much. The cost is very, very high. So that is the reason why we are considering the automobile as one of the case study. And here, so once it goes to the customer, then the customer will going to give the material cost, that is, he will going to pay the amount, then it goes in the return direction. So this will going to be explained in our next slide, wherein we have a supply chain network. So in the supply chain network, as I already told you, the vendors, they will going to plan, design and manufacturing of materials or parts will going to take place. And from there it will comes to the plant, and from then plant, once the total assembly of automobile is completed, then it goes to the main dealers, which will going to be having a tie-up with the plants. And from there, so this is the main dealer where you will going to have a stockyards which will going to be placed there. And from these depots, will it go to the retail outlets, wherein we are going to have the sub dealers. Each will going to be connected with the main dealers. And this person will going to have the direct relationship with the customer, and the customer, he will going to take the vehicle. So the material will going to flow from the vendor to the customer. And then how that finance will going to flow. So how does the finance will go? So we need to require a investment, and for that we need to have a payback. So that payback will going to be done by the customer. How? The customer, once he purchases the vehicle, so he will going to give back the money to the retail outlets. From the retail outlets, it will go to the main dealer. From the main dealer, it comes to the company, and in turn from the company, it goes to the vendor. So this is how the finance will going to flow. So this is purely a supply chain network. So wherein we will going to have the material flow from one direction, and the finance will going to flow in the opposite direction. And coming back to the information flow, what is this information flow? This information flow is the feedback. Suppose we have developed the vehicle. Sometimes the vehicle will going to be clicked in the market, and sometimes the vehicle may not click. That is basically because of the usage and the requirement of the customer, which is need to be followed. So in the planning stage itself, all these things which will going to be considered, but still, because of the varieties of the automobile sector today in the market, we have plenty, and because of that, they may feel the both from the aesthetic appearance and also from the technical point of view and from the functional point of view, they may feel that it may not be appropriate, or it may not be usable for, it may not be able to use for our requirement, so they may reject it. So that type of feedback is required for the company. So further they want to modify the models, and this type of information flow will always happens from the customer side towards the vendor. So that is the reason why the material will go from material flow will going to take place from left to right, and whereas the information flow and finance flow will going to be from the right to left. Now, the term chain is a little misleading because it gives the impression that there is only one entity at each stage of the supply chain. So we talk about chain, so they may think it is only one component or one entity at each stage. In reality, as seen in the previous figure, so we have the multiple entities. So that is the reason why I told we have the set of parts are involved. All these set of parts have been dispatched from the vendors to the plant to make the assembly. So when you take an automobile car, we have a lot of parts are involved. Suppose if you take, for example, a two-wheeler, if you have a crankcase, you have a clutch, you have a gear, and we have a carburetor, we have an engine part, an engine assembly, you have a chassis. So all these things are involved. So all these parts comes from the vendor, come to the plant, then they do the assembly, then it goes to the main dealer, then to the sub dealer, and then go to the customer. So that is how it will go into flow. So in reality, multiple entities are involved at each stage. A manufacturer receives material from several suppliers and in turn distribute the products through the multiple distributors. More appropriate term probably will be either supply networks or supply web. However, the term supply chain has been widely accepted by both the practitioners and academicians. So what does it mean? By practitioners, the one who will go into practice, he will going to become a practitioner. So they have been accepted that instead of calling it as a network, we will call it as the chain. Why they call it as a chain? Basically because suppose if any of these parts has got a defect in the beginning itself, then the chain will going to break. That means even one part is not received in time in the plant, then we cannot do the assembly. So the chain will going to break. So that is the reason why we call it as a chain. So in the next video, we will going to discuss about evolution of supply chain management. Thank you.